Kevin, thanks for taking care of that issue that I spoke to you about. I did mean to text you today and I just, they got away from me. Thank you. I don't know if Angela will be happy, but.
Brian, just be careful of this curve underneath your feet.
Yeah, I see it.
I moved it because I'm gonna trip over the darn thing.
She's in Dominican.
There we go.
You ready?
Vacation. I almost took a picture and sent it to her, but.
Okay, we're gonna open the meeting, second meeting of the month. First thing to do is the pledge of allegiance. Would everybody join me?
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I want to welcome everybody who's here, who's on Zoom, and who's on TV. First thing will be agenda review. Is there anything that anybody needs to add to the agenda?
I want to add, under expenditures, we have general orders, highway orders, ARPA orders. So the ARPA's not on there.
Yeah.
And then the library orders, and we're actually splitting out the highway and general payroll orders will be one, and the library orders will be separate so that we can have all the totals on each one separately.
Yeah,
So
I
when you
noticed
read
that
the
when you
orders-
sent them out.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay,
thank
I
you.
got one deletion, and under new business, B, Debbie DuBois LaVoy. She had emailed me and said that the Liz Curry, who's doing work for them on their grant application, had communicated with them that she'd take care of it, so she didn't need to be on the agenda in the future, so that can be removed.
okay. So Debbie won't be here tonight.
That's right.
Any other?
Can I add to any other necessary business, the walk to shop program with the Swanton Energy Committee? I briefly talked to you about it. I just want to throw it out there to everyone.
Okay, that's it. The only other thing, but I believe you're gonna bring this up, is we did, Brian, I know Kent called you, Kent
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
He also called me today, finally got a hold of me. So that's not really on the agenda, is it?
No, because the things were developing as we were moving forward. The agenda was actually done prior to. the
Yeah,
Thursday
right,
meeting.
right, cause it all happened today, and
Yeah.
actually I got a call today from Lake Champlain Basin too.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So it must be that meeting amounted to something.
Well, it's been interesting.
Yeah.
I've had to reconstruct quite a bit of stuff.
Okay, well, we should add that under new town business. You know,
Okay.
we should, so all the board members know. I know Ed was there, but, nobody else was, and now that this has happened, we should, bring this up before the whole board. Alright, that should be enough. Okay, the minutes would be next. Our regular select board meeting for May 2nd.
I move with the chairman.
Alright, motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion or corrections or additions that you wanna put on? Alright then, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, motion carried. Now we have public comment, but it would be comments on anything that's not on the agenda. Okay, and we'll go on to expenditures. We'll start with the general orders. I have one question.
Yep, go ahead.
Lonnie's Public Affairs.
We owe 9.
What's that?
309. It's Corey Parent. It used
Oh,
to be-
okay, all right, that's the name of their company,
Yeah.
okay, all right. And I thought it was, but I wasn't 100% sure. And that would have to do with the town plan, yeah. Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Now we had grant money for that too, right?
Yeah.
But we're paying, then we get reimbursed,
Right.
okay.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions on the general orders? No? Then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the general orders from 4/19/2023 to 5/16/2023 in the amount of
Yes, for the amount,
$145,569.36.
I second.
okay, the motion been made and seconded, is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Alright, that motion carried. Now we go to highway orders. Does anybody have any questions for Kevin on the orders?
I make a motion, Mr. Chair, we approve the orders for the highway in the amount of $45,227.13.
Alright, motion been made, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Motion been made and seconded, is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Right, that motion carried too. Now we'll go to the ARPA orders.
I move, Mr. Chairman, that we approve the ARPA orders for 04/19/223 to 5/16/2023 for the amount of $3,047.07.
I'll second that.
Alright, motion's been made and seconded, is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll move on to the library orders. Does that mean that the fire alarm now up to date?
Yes, it is, I checked the stickers on it, so, yep.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the library orders dated 4/19/2023 to 5/16/2023 in the amount of $493.53.
Second it.
Alright, motion been made and seconded, is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carried too. Now we're gonna go on to payroll orders for highway and general.
I'll make a motion to approve the payroll orders for highway and general 4/19/2023 to 5/16/2023 in the amount of $33,116.08.
Second.
Alright, motion's been made and seconded.
Did you say 32 or 33?
It would be, wouldn't it be the 34 on the back because you have to add the net
Yeah,
and
it's
the,
under it's gonna be right here.
Yeah. So
33.
34,153.
$34,153.37.
Yeah,
I don't have that. Can you write it on there? I think the other one you had. Yeah.
it's really small.
it is very small.
Okay. Alright, so the motion's been made and seconded, right? Is there any more discussion? Alright, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried too. Now we got the library payroll orders. And I did. How come they don't get paid every week?
Because it's every other week,
Oh,
and
I
there's
see.
only been one, I did
Oh,
the
we-
orders for last Thursday, so the other payroll was Monday.
Yeah.
So it's not
It's
gonna be,
not-
next
it's
one you'll
next
have
time,
more
is it?
on it than
Okay.
you normally would have on it.
All right.
That's not what it is.
I move that we, pay the payroll orders for the library from 4/19/2023, 5/16/2023, for the amount of $4,268.06.
I'll second.
Alright, motion's been made and second. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carried too. Okay, now we have Kevin here. A concerned citizen up in the 207 Bushy Road area thought it might not be a bad idea to put a stop sign at the end of the Sholin Road. Because he's seen cars and stuff come out of there and just pull right on the Bushy Road. And I imagine there's gonna be more activity up there. It seems like a reasonable, common sense thing to do. Because I did drive by there yesterday when I came back from Georgia, and I looked at it and I said, yeah, you know, it probably wouldn't hurt if there was a sign there. You can do that? Okay. Anything else you wanna report to the board, Kevin? We ain't having any problems then?
No problems at all.
You're the only one. And I see on the orders, you got your new mower,
Yes.
and you're probably gonna have to mow a little earlier this year than normal, aren't you?
We're only quick.
And the truck, the new truck, everything's set on that, you haven't heard anything?
I haven't heard anything on it.
And have you had an anticipated, paving schedule yet?
I haven't heard from Joe.
You haven't heard?
No, haven't heard from Joe.
Let's kick you on it.
He's supposedly writing something up. He called you.
Yeah, I got it today, so I would like you to look at it before we sign it.
Okay.
Okay, so, if you get a minute tomorrow morning, can you stop me, 'cause I gotta ask you to look at something else with me,
Okay.
which will involve walking up on something right over here. Hopefully it won't be raining too hard.
No, it's not supposed to be, it's supposed to clear out.
Clear up, won't get cold, huh?
Cold, yeah,
Yeah.
55, that's not cold. Swanton Hill,
Yes.
have you talked to anybody about looking at that for any?
For blasting.
Yeah.
stuff? No, I haven't. I was gonna ask if you want me to check into.
Well, we've had that discussion here, you know, we talked about that Swanton Hill project as a board, or at least
Yeah.
looking into it. Does anybody else have a problem with them starting to find out what we can do? We don't know yet, for sure.
I gave Ryan the folder.
Yeah,
down on it,
right. And
that
I
Tyler.
talked with Tyler, he needs more work, he has to do more work, to see how everything would play out.
Thank you.
And so if you want to give the go-ahead, I can get Tyler to,
Well, all right, now that would be, that's something we probably ought to discuss real quick. If you go to Tyler, there'll be a cost involved with that,
yeah.
right? What do you guys think? We think we should bring it, wait until the next meeting with the number, or, cause I don't know how much it would be,
I don't know, so I'm gonna have to find out, get a number for, blasting a couple.
no, I ain't worried so much about that right now, as if we get Tyler on it, yeah. You
Yeah,
remember what the culvert was on
for his fee?
Yeah.
No, I'd have to look that up, I don't recall, but, it's, because I think he needs to look at it to make sure the amount is gonna get blasted out,
Yeah.
I would think.
Oh, yeah,
To make sure the grade is okay, so then,
yeah.
so it's like what comes first here. But I can call and ask him what, he would estimate his fees would be to.
Nobody's talked to him specifically about that area?
I did call him a while ago, a few weeks ago, and asked if he had done a cost estimate of the project, and he said he hadn't gotten to that part yet.
Yeah.
He has been up there.
He has.
He has been up there.
Yes, yeah, he
Has an idea what. we
what
would
needs
wanna
to be
do.
done, yeah. But we haven't worked anything with easements or any of that being done,
Right.
so that,
The last we do, the landowner
Yeah,
wanted
switch,
to just
Yeah.
swap. so-
yeah.
yeah.
Is it critical that we get our attorney involved real soon? Is that what you're saying?
Well, we may have to get him involved, but we'd like to, before all that ARPA's money's gone,
Yeah,
because that's been a big headache, and Kevin, you know, you know, he'll tell you. So the first thing we gotta do is find out what we really need to do, and what we're gonna need for easements, and then we'll have to get,
yeah,
Here we go again.
yeah.
yeah. So I would be more comfortable, and I don't know how the other members of the board feel, if you talk to Tyler and say, hey, what's it gonna cost us to get to where we need to be, so we can figure out how much, you know, this is gonna cost to do the project, and what needs to be done for the project. And maybe someone else should make a motion to that effect.
Would it be more expedient if we just said to Brian, if we gave Brian authority to execute something with Mr. Tyler, is his name Mr. Tyler?
It's Billingsley, Tyler Billingsley.
Okay, so that we could give Brian permission up to say 2,500 so he could execute it quickly, or do you wanna wait till we get the number?
We can do it that way if you wanna put you
I'm
know,
just thinking
up to,
if
yeah,
it's important,
yeah.
we don't have to wait 2 more weeks, that's all. I'd be comfortable authorizing Brian to spend up to to agree to up to $2,500 to get the work started, so that we can make progress here.
And-
I guess that's a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All right, motion's been, did you get it, Christina?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Motion's been made that we're gonna authorize Ryan to go ahead and talk to Tyler and get him started on it.
Up to 25.
Yeah, up to 2,500, and then,
Yeah, because it's actually 3 weeks to your next meeting.
Yeah, so then it'll save us 3 weeks time.
okay, that's right, it is 3 weeks, ain't it? And that motion's been seconded, so is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carried. All right, is that it for the highway? Okay, Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You can
Kevin.
stay if you
Have a
want.
nice day. Keep up the good work.
We'll see you in the morning.
Take care, Kevin.
All right, now we go on to law enforcement and animal control.
You don't have an animal control report, however,
This would be a good time to discuss the letter.
yes, this is,
That's good.
you have in your packet the certified letter that was sent on May 3rd to Mr. St. Francis regarding his dog. He had 10 days from the receipt of the letter, and he received the letter on May 6th, so 10 days are up today.
Okay. And I expect he came in here with a smile on his face and brought you a check.
I didn't ask Cassie this afternoon, but you didn't get anything this afternoon
No.
from it. So this dog is still unlicensed.
Okay, Brian, what would our ordinances allow us to do now that he has refused to, or not responded?
Well, it allows you to impound the dog and actually destroy the dog, but that politically wouldn't necessarily be a wise move. But impounding, definitely, if we could figure out where we're gonna impound the dog.
That becomes very expensive.
Yes, yes. But we can't condone the fact that we got a dog running,
Right.
or he's not running, but could be running, unlicensed and unvaccinated. And that's the vaccination part that always concerns
Does
me.
he own the property that he and the dog live on?
Yeah,
He does.
yeah.
Okay. Is it possible that we can recover our fees of boarding the dog and everything else by putting a lien on his property? Did the statutes recite anything to that?
We would have to sue him in small claims court.
Okay.
So, if he didn't pay willingly,
Can he be fined now?
yes.
It's gonna be
he
fine.
can be.
Yeah.
He will be
So much
fined.
per day, right?
Yeah.
He was already fined 200, I believe.
He was already fined a total due of $200.
Yeah.
And then, additional costs and expense and all that, so
He's
he
been fined, but he hasn't paid the fines.
can,
No,
as far, right, he has not.
I'm sure if he would have paid, well, registered his dog at the same time.
We, because that's where it gets tricky, because the ticket that's issued, and I'm just looking, Jim isn't here. The ticket that is issued is just like you get a speeding ticket, right? So they send it into the judicial bureau, so we really don't know one way or the other if somebody at this point has paid that. But as we go forward, there are ways of finding out, of course. But that'll take a little doing.
That fine doesn't come directly to the town?
No, it goes through the judicial bureau.
I recall when something like this went on, and the Franklin County Humane Society had to board some animals, and it was a tremendous expense. And it almost caused them to fail, because somebody had to take care of these animals. I just don't want us to go through the same thing where we're spending all kinds of money if we can't recover it.
Right, no, I understand.
I mean, I still think we should go through with what we're doing, but.
So what would be our next,
What do we usually do when we impound? Is it the Franklin County?
Well, we have, no, they don't take dogs. I don't know the last time we impounded. Do you, Kathy, no?
It's been a while, but they kept the dog at the garage.
They did, okay. And they make sure they get fed and water.
Yeah, depending on the dog. If it's a vicious dog, it's another story.
Yeah,
I mean,
well,
no one will take it if it's a vicious dog anyways, but
yeah,
usually animal control takes care of that as long as,
okay, well then that's.
other than having, because if it's a nice dog, the highway department will go and give it water and food.
Well,
But
he's
if
nice
it's,
to humans, according to
Yeah.
Jan. Yeah.
oh, he is.
So
Just
maybe
as
we
a-
can, Jim can't.
Okay, well, we'll.
You'd have to discuss that with him though, because,
Yeah.
and the highway department, because it's up to them if they
Yeah.
wanna do
Either
that.
way, then there's always a option.
Okay,
Or who fills in for, who answers, yeah. There you go.
yeah,
Well, I don't mind, it's
It's
just,
on
I
your way
just
to
wanna
work.
make sure it's,
but right now you need to double check, make sure he hasn't paid the fine. Nobody's notified the town that it's been paid.
that's right, but nonetheless, we know that the dog is unlicensed.
Yeah, that we don't.
So we
So that
still can
fine's still in
seize- We can
existence.
still seize the dog, yeah.
Yeah.
If impound the dog, if that's the case.
Now, we sent a register, that,
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you got the
Copies
second,
right
the
there.
copy.
okay, you got it right there,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah. So I would suggest, I would get hold of Jim tomorrow morning and ask him to go get the dog. I will talk to Kevin first, he's gonna come in and see me anyway. And then we'll board it, if the dog can be located. Now, it's possible maybe he's giving the dog away, we don't know. That's the other thing,
I doubt it, but
yeah.
anything's possible.
If we run into problems, well, then we'll have to just work it accordingly.
Well, let us know what happens.
Yeah,
yeah,
And-
keep me in the loop of that one.
yeah.
Please.
Okay,
Do you need a motion to do that?
I would appreciate one.
okay.
I'll make a motion to have Brian get in touch with Jim to, impound,
To have the dog impounded.
to have the dog impounded. Is there anything else you want in that motion? Is that good?
Well, just for failure to pay the fines and
Failure
failure to
register.
license the dog too.
Yes, yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carried. Okay, now we can move on to, whoops, LVRT update.
And,
Joel's on.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Deal.
You hear me?
Yes.
We can.
Yeah, just pulled into the place in Tennessee, so, bear with me just a minute. There's not too much to update. The, firm did send an update. They are working it. I expect something hopefully to bring to you guys, for the mid-June meeting. Just to review the update on the, site plan. And then after that, we will need to hold a public hearing on the site plan. The state wants us to hold one more public meeting regarding the site plan. So that's kind of the update for now. Still shooting, it'd be construction next spring. Am working with them to talk and discuss possible clearing of the site later this fall.
The site plan Joel is redesigned because we made them recommended changes for the parking in the corner of Andy Leduc's avenue or street.
Well, we already had in the site plan, the fence there, the screening, that's already part of it. One thing they looked at is possibly moving the pavilion. And the reason they were thinking that were valid, so I said, take a look at it and see how that fits on the site. I don't expect any major changes over what we had before, but they're looking at it. They're converting the files right now, getting them in the format that VTran uses. So I think we'll see what changes that we'd ask for on that site plan, and if not, we will ask them to put them back in. As part of our meeting that we had with them, we talked to them about the fence and so on. It's on the drawing, and they're aware of it.
Yeah, but we had said something about moving a couple of parking places to get a little further, to stay on the side of the old trail or the old rail, one of them old rail beds out there.
We relocated a couple of those spots.
Okay, all right. Anybody else got any questions for Joel? All right, so you're gonna be coming back in our second meeting in June, probably with an update and a site plan, and then we gotta schedule a public hearing.
Correct. Hopefully they'll be ready for 20 June. They said they would get back to me in a couple of weeks to talk about a mid-June timeframe for the site plan, and I'll tell them you guys are meeting on the 20th and would like to have it for then.
Okay, I guess that's all. If nobody's got any questions, all right, we're all set. Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joel.
All right. Well, I'm gonna listen in on I think your next item too, if you have a few RFPs.
Yep. Yep, we do. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to that Recreation Community Center RFPs for feasibility study. And it appears we only got one.
That's correct. We received one from Ballard King and Associates of Highlands Ranch, Colorado. You got the information, and I did attempt to contact some of the I tried Montpelier. Somebody there, the person that was in charge of this, said that they heard that they're looking to have talked to him again, because he did some work years ago. Now they're wanting to start it back up, but they didn't have specific information. And the person in South Burlington hasn't come back to me, so.
I just think it's good to get
Yeah,
some comments.
yep,
Sure, it's gonna come back pretty favorable.
yeah. And so he laid out, what, they will do. Sounds reasonable. And, they're looking at a total project fee, $16,500.
That's a lot less than I thought it would be.
They'll begin work within 3 weeks of receiving a signed contract. It'll take approximately 30 days to complete the market analysis. And once they receive a basic concept plan for the center, then approximately another 30 days to complete the operation. So you're looking at probably 3 months total.
When it says basic concept plan for the center, do we already have that, Joel?
Yes, we do. We have a concept plan. Absolutely.
So this could be done relatively quickly then.
3 months, that's pretty standard, I think.
Now, what's the comments from the rec committee? Nobody's here tonight.
Betsy wasn't able to make it this evening. She was, concerned with the timing, of course. So that, I haven't received any further comment. They have not seen this, or even know what the amount is at this point.
Could they have got this online though, if they wanted to?
No, I don't believe so.
But it came with it came under GoDaddy something, or whatever the hell that is.
Just you.
Oh, okay, all right. I think this meets all of our needs, and one of the things I think that Earl had suggested we put in there was the capital cost of varying amounts up to maybe 3 million. So, and I looked for it, and I didn't see reference to that, but perhaps they will, and maybe it's couched in one of the bullet points here.
Yeah, I didn't see that in there, and the other thing is, of course, I guess it wasn't part of the work they do, is other funding sources. I guess we're on our own for that.
Right, yeah, they don't do that. I have a proposal, but we'll have to discuss that in executive session later on. A portion of the funding possibility.
Yeah, I think if they do the fundraising, they're gonna get a commission, like naturally they should, so if we can do it ourselves, we can save some pretty big bucks.
Well, I do have an email here from Betsy, and of course, their concern is the timeline and the cost of the study. And they want to make sure that they're in the loop. So it's basically what was discussed at the last meeting we had with the rec committee.
Yep.
They're not in favor of doing this. So that has definitely not changed. And I don't know, Joel, do you want to make a comment on behalf of them?
No, I can't speak for them. I fully understand what the select board is trying to do and the concerns that they have. If the thing gets completed in 3 months, this is just Joel Clark's opinion, that's a reasonable time frame right now. So, no, I can't make a comment for them.
Okay.
I will help support them in any way I can to help this project go through, but I won't speak for them without checking with them. And I haven't seen that proposal that's in front of you.
What's the board think?
About what?
Well, I know we want to do this. I think we have to.
I think we have a responsibility to our taxpayers to perform the due diligence on this project, and this is just one part of it. I think we should continue with it. hopefully the rec committee will come around at some point and understand the value that this is gonna bring, especially when we get into fundraising and whatever, so my recommendation is that we accept this proposal in the amount of $16,500. Give Brian the authorization to execute whatever documents needed and move forward. So time is of the essence here.
Okay.
And I understand this is gonna be paid for out of some ARPA money.
Well, that's the other concern that Betsy has. She'd like to use some other money, but we don't have other money.
No,
You know, so if we do it, it's gonna have to come out of the 600,000 that has been allocated for this rec center. You know,
Was that stuff, was that amount allocated, and that was allocated prior to knowing they had to spend an extra 16.5, right?
it was allocated in a 5-minute ordeal.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of discussion.
Mhm.
Basically, you know, we, because of the input from the public, they wanted to see something happen, so we put half of the, ARPA money towards it,
Mhm.
you know, but, you know, we were assuming that was gonna cover all the costs of planning and all that. Now, this wasn't, we weren't presented with what, you know, we were only presented with some stuff from cross engineering and what those costs are gonna be at that time. Steve?
now, when you say allocated, I'm having trouble with that because it seems like there's an element of ownership of those funds. The funds are owned by the town,
Yeah,
not a committee of the town.
right.
So did we reserve those funds?
Yes, the board made a motion
To
to
reserve.
reserve 600,000
Big
for,
difference between reserving and allocating.
right, okay,
I
yeah,
just wanna make sure
Yeah.
that it's clear. We
No.
reserve the funds.
right.
I think that if it's gonna come out of there, it has to, and it's gonna result in some significant benefits to this whole project. I think it's money well spent, and it's gonna be paid for many, many times, so. If you want my motion to include using the ARPA funds for payment, that's fine, I can add that to it.
It'll have to be in there. You got any comments, Ed?
No, I agree with Steve. I agree with Steve.
All right, then, the only thing I want to say is, I've been hearing from some people in Swanton about this project, and there are concerns. If we don't have the answers, I don't believe we're gonna get voter approval. It seems, some people seem to think this is a done deal. That, you know, all they gotta do is just put the vote out, but I'm not sure it's gonna happen that way. And I do believe we're gonna have to find some other funding source besides our tax dollars in order for this to be successful. And I agree that we should go ahead and get, especially the timeline really fits, because this, you know, should be by early fall, we should have all this done.
Yeah, and I wanna back up a little bit about what Earl said. I've been stopped by, in my morning tours here, people pull up and wanna talk. There are some serious concerns.
Yeah.
About the tax impact, and nobody's against it.
No,
Everybody thinks it's a great
No.
idea, absolutely great idea.
Yeah.
Problem is, how much is it gonna cost me? And we all know it's not how much it's gonna generate, it's how much is it gonna lose every year that we have to cover.
Yeah.
And we understand that, that's
Yeah.
part of the thing, so.
and the other thing I wanna make clear, and I made this clear when I had that, went on that, what's the name of that show?
Swanton today.
Swan today, yeah. Nobody on this board, everybody understands we have to do something. The facilities we have are not adequate. You know, but we wanna do it with what we can, you know, what is basically, you know, the community can afford to do. And I hate to find out the hard way.
I noticed on TV tonight, there was some reference to some RDAG, Rural Development Action Grant funding. All that, there's a lot of money out there if we put up a good project, a
Yeah.
lot of good money
Yeah.
out there. There's UDAG, RDAG, all the DAGs and you
Yeah.
name it, but it's all out there.
Did you see somebody want to comment up there?
No, I saw Mr. Winters coming in, but
Oh.
Mr. Lavoy would like to say something.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to make a comment too, that I think as a community, we should seriously think about a local option tax. not only would a local option tax potentially pay for that project up front, but very, very easily continue to pay for that project or that facility throughout the years, similar to the money that St. Albans Town and city are generating. Now, many people are gonna mention that's another tax, but that's another tax they don't even realize they're already paying when they shop in St. Albans on a regular basis. And the amount of people that that's gonna get spread out over is not just our taxpayers, but that's every truck that gets fuel at Maple Fields every single day. That's every Canadian that comes to this town to buy groceries, to buy whatever, when you know, Hannaford's and Aubuchon's are packed on Saturday morning. So that is a potential way to spread some of that burden across not just our taxpayers, but people that come to this community, and it's generating a lot of income in other communities that can be used, you know, for projects. In a project of $3 million, let's say, I mean, St. Albans is generating, you know, close to $1 million a year. So what are we talking, $500,000 a year? Maybe 250 to 500. I mean, I think it's a substantial amount of money that we should take a serious look into, that not only will work here, but could be potentially invested down the road. And just secondly, also, you guys were talking about, you know, feasibility and look and design. I've seen many communities be sold on a project that is completely illogical in design and use. And where I go with that is looking at our new town garage. It's perfectly designed, it's simple, it's clean, it's clear, it's function, not fashion. So I want the board, I want the recreation department, being in construction, I see many facilities that are built because an architect wants a stamp that looks good and not about function. So that's just my only other thought when it comes to this project as a whole. Function, not fashion. We're not trying to make a statement, we're trying to better our community, and it's not about how it looks, because there's a community very, very close to us that just built a beautiful new recreation building, and they have major issues when it comes to ice, when it comes to water, when it comes to grade. It's okay, it looks great, but they have some big issues that they need to fix now on a very expensive building. So
Yeah, I think
that's just my 2
Your
cents.
points are well taken. I think the LOT though, I'm not sure that that it's assessed on food. And I don't think it's assessed on fuel oil or anything like that, because that's a whole separate tax. And it's something we don't have a big retail base here, so I think it could benefit us, and we should look at it, absolutely. But I don't see it being,
Well, I'm gonna look at it.
Yeah, of course.
You're right, we don't have the
I brought it
retail
up a couple
base.
meetings ago.
But it also includes mail order.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so if you order something on Amazon,
where you see UPS and FedEx delivering a package, that's, there's a local option tax on that. whatever
And
it
from
is.
what I'm told, one of the biggest producers in St. Albans is McDonald's. So we do have
Right.
one of those.
Yeah,
So if you start thinking McDonald's, Tractor Supply, some of those other larger retail places, I mean,
it adds up.
could be a substantial amount of money, more than enough to float that building among others yearly. So just my 2 cents on that.
Well, something that's been discussed, but we're not really in a position to propose it right now. I mean, it's possible. It'd have to be voter approved, so it wouldn't happen till March anyways.
and the law that they had, that my understanding was that there was a bill in the legislature that would just, all you needed was local approval, you didn't have to go to the legislature. Well, that bill didn't make it, so we'd still have to present something to the legislature.
So it would-
There's work to be done on it, that's for sure. But first place is to figure out what we collect, what the state is collecting out of a zip code 05488 for sales tax, and we just calculate in the extra 1%.
Yep. And the land that we targeted, it may not be where it ends up, but anyway, the land we targeted, that's owned by the village, as I recall from our
That's correct.
discussion.
Yep.
So we're gonna have to enter into some type of agreement, either to get a long-term lease or to take title to the property. But in any event,
We've already had that discussion
Yeah.
though, haven't we? Yeah.
I think it was,
but how did it end up? I don't remember.
well, I think it was an executive,
What?
wasn't it, when we,
Yeah, it was sort of semi-executive. We really hadn't to come to any decision what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason I bring it up is that we're probably gonna have to have a phase one or a phase two environmental assessment of the property.
Well, that's what I wanna ask Joel, cause I know we brought this up before. Didn't Cross do an environmental assessment?
Wetlands delineation.
Well, the environmental assessment, that's a very loose term. They looked at some wetlands down there for delineation of wetlands. Environmental assessment's a whole different thing of looking at a site for any possible contamination, et cetera. That's the term normally I hear with a federal piece of property. No one has gone down and done any sampling in that area, no, as far as hazardous waste or that sort of thing.
We probably, Ryan ought to probably get some information on that. I hate to get blindsided as we make our way through this process and find out that we have to have a major environmental assessment of the property, which could be core samples and whatever, just to see
Right.
where we might fall on that.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at that site, that was not an industrial site right there. There was a place where they, grabbed some material. We did, as far as Cross Consultant, they looked at, they've gotta do some stormwater work, and they gotta do a little bit of a wetland work, because the stormwater is gonna go, they have to move it out across the wetland. So yes, they did look at those two issues, stormwater and wetland. And that's part of the design piece that's on hold until the feasibility study gets done. But that would all be part of their design contract for the building at that site.
Yeah, well, it's between a railroad track, and we all know that brings up a stigma. And then there's an old business that, although I'm sure the current owners are very, very careful about anything
Yeah.
like that. But we've got two negatives on each side of that. So we
Yeah,
have, we might
okay.
wanna take a peek at it.
But Joel, is an environmental assessment gonna have to be done?
I'm not aware of one that needs to be done for that, no.
There's no requirement for that you know of.
I'll be glad to ask some further questions of the consultant, yes, to clarify that. But we talked about possible required permits, and the stormwater and wetlands were the two that we discussed.
If I understand correctly, I've been through this. If we take title to that property and they do find some issues on it later, we own it. So we want to make sure we do our homework before we grab that parcel, whether it's in a long-term lease or if they pass title, that's all.
Okay, so,
Then that may be a phase one brownfield, is what you're talking about, Steve.
Could be, yep. Could be.
and I'm kinda thinking that might end up getting required if we're looking for other funding sources.
Yeah.
But right now, that's not part of the package that you have with Cross Consulting right now.
Not as far as a phase one brownfield, no. And I guess I'm surprised. I thought things were moving ahead with the village. It hasn't been,
Well, we had the meeting and I thought, there was some agreement to some kind of lease thing, but I guess nothing's been actually done in
Nothing
writing.
nothing on
Done
paper,
in
but there
writing.
was a verbal.
Yeah, it was verbal.
Yeah,
They,
I mean, that's something that should be on
Yeah.
yep,
on your agenda for updates, because
yep.
why are we even looking at putting a building there if we're not moving forward on the property transfer?
I don't know if it would be a property transfer or some kind of permanent easement for the wreck.
Yeah,
item.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have just said property
Yeah.
transfer, but yes.
But
Well,
yeah,
it could be either one.
yeah, it could be either one, but I think we didn't discuss a property transfer.
it was
It
more
wouldn't-
of
I
a
think what we found out is the
long-term
lease was gonna be the
lease.
easier
There was a
thing to do.
potential
Yeah.
Correct.
But
as well.
yeah. All right, so we gotta follow up on that too, and if we haven't got anything done, then we need to meet with the trustees
Right,
right off fairly soon.
well, we'll explain later, we're
Yeah.
gonna have to anyway.
Okay, all right. All right, so we'll get that one addressed too. The brownfield thing, you know, there could be some issues there, you never know. I'd hate to get caught later on, because that can be it could turn out to be a major expense, you never
It
know.
could hold the whole project up.
Yeah,
Well, I can check with the
It should be
village,
part of your lease discussion.
yeah,
maybe
Yeah,
when they
okay.
acquired it, maybe there was one done then, I don't know.
all right, yeah. Now, okay,
And you can check with our attorney to find out if we take it under a 100-year lease or something like that, does that transfer the liability for cleanup to us?
Yeah, good question.
all right, so we'll go back to the original issue. We're gonna have to have a motion from the board to approve this feasibility study.
I made a motion.
And I second it.
Okay, so the motion's been made and seconded. Does anybody else wanna comment? Okay, then I'll ask all those in favor.
I,
Aye.
I abstain.
Did you nay?
Aye.
Okay, so everybody, the three that could vote, voted yes. So we're going to go forward with this. And now we're gonna make a motion to authorize Brian to sign the contract so we can get this speeded up. That'll have to be another motion.
I move.
Yeah, all right, that motion been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on
Second
that? Whoop,
Second, he moved.
yeah, Steve made it and Ed seconded it. Okay,
No, the other way.
No.
The other
oh,
way around.
the other way
The other
around. All right, so that motion's been made to authorize Brian. Is there any discussion on that? All right, then all those in favor?
I,
Aye.
All right, that
Abstain
motion
still.
carried too.
Earl,
Yes,
did I hear you say they need a floor plan?
do they need a floor plan? I guess that's something that we'll have to ask them. I would,
I thought I heard you say something about it earlier, something about a plan.
Concept plan.
Concept plan.
Concept.
Concept plan,
Yeah, concept plan is the floor plan.
right.
We have that.
Concept of ability with floor plans and elevation. I'll get that electronically to Brian.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
yes. Okay, I guess we can move on to the next issue then, which is here to MVU sidewalk, public, and this is not supposed to be a public hearing, didn't we?
Public input.
Public input meeting,
Public input, so, yeah.
because we're not actually gonna take any action that night at that meeting. We want to take public input on the sidewalks. Save it for the night, okay? Because we want a lot of people there. We even going down to the village complex,
Yeah.
Ed, so save it. Save it.
I think you were still a student when I got involved in it the first time.
Probably was.
Yeah, the public, input. So you got the notice, and does that say public input?
He does.
Yes, but further in the verbiage, it says hearing.
Now, the other thing, I've talked with Bethany, and we wanna try to get together with somebody from the St. Albans Messenger to do an article before this hearing. And meeting, public input meeting. Because I wanna see some people there. So I wanna know how people really feel about it, you know, if we're gonna go forward. Any concerns, my concerns, that I think that I picked up on, and from people in the town anyways, is, one thing, the use, how much use it would get, the other is safety issues. And then there's some concern about right-of-ways. You know, so that's what that would be part of the article. Bethany would be there to put in the numbers. of where we are right now, how much we spent, how much the original grant was for, then the fact that we're gonna have to request more money, because we're not even sure of the cost of that yet. So I'm hoping that I can get something done, and that it'll be along those lines. I'm not gonna say that, you know, we should do it or we shouldn't do it. I just want people there, and I want them to know what's going on. So when they get there, they've got a general idea of what the situation is, and they can have their questions ready.
Have we ever, I looked at that report that Brian sent, or I picked up here, that Cross did. Almost like a duplicate of what the state did.
Yeah.
And then you have to question why we spend the money twice, but.
Yeah.
I didn't see any headcount information in there. I was wondering
No,
if
it
they,
wasn't.
if they could say, well, and I don't like when somebody says a lot means nothing. But are there 21 students a day going back and forth when they should be in school? But I was hoping we'd see that, and absent that, it's gonna be tough to talk about the usage.
Yeah, it's more of a build it and they will come type thing, because there isn't any real accurate, you know,
Yeah,
because there's nothing there now.
no.
The only outlier in this whole thing now, and Cody brought this up at the last meeting, is, you know, what's gonna happen in the future further to the airport. There may be some development over on the property, across from there. You know, maybe that wasn't considered the first time when that study was done, but, you know, maybe there might be more maybe somebody's gonna be concerned about that.
And maybe, if it's tied into the airport, which is a great thing going on, that'll be part of the funding for that up there.
Yeah.
Off our shoulders.
Yeah, if we need more than what we've already got approved, then, you know, then we wanna make everybody aware of the exact amount that the town has already set aside. You know, if actually we have enough money to cover our original cost, you know, our share. But if the cost goes up, we're gonna have to put more money aside, because it'll be a match there too, I'm sure.
Well, if you think this through, as this airport thing gets developed, there may be folks working up there, and I think there's gonna be a good number of jobs. They might be using this more,
Yeah.
so then we wouldn't be paying for it. Maybe wherever they get the money for the development up there might be willing to fund it and take care of it.
Yeah, maybe we get them to do get our cost share out of it.
That's
you
what I
know?
mean.
Yeah,
That's what I meant,
yeah. Okay, so just anybody here that's listening, especially the people out there on TV, I'd really like to see you there, June 6th at 7 p.m. at the Swanton Village Complex. All right, now we can go on to Newtown business. Now we have a representative from Velco concerning transmission line upgrade. And I'm assuming it's the guy on the computer.
Yes. Good evening, my name is Scott Mallory, I can come up or
Yep,
speak right from
come
here,
right up if you want.
wherever you'd like. I understand and hope that you received a presentation, and I don't mean to take up too much of your time, but to go through it
Yeah.
just by exception, if that's your preference, and just field any questions you might have regarding the project, and go on with a discussion to help you understand it. If you'd like me to stop on any specific page or of the presentation, I can do that,
Okay.
or I can go through the whole thing. Your pleasure.
Oh, just do the highlights, I guess it'd be a good place to start.
Sure. If you're not familiar with Velco, Velco is Vermont Electric Power Company, manage electric transmission throughout the state of Vermont, as per the map and presentation. Basically cover and support the entire state, supporting then the distribution utilities such as Green Mountain Power, Vermont Electric Co-op, and so forth. We operate similar or analogous to a state highway. And then, you know, when the highway is shut down, then Route 2, Route 7, the other roads get overloaded and
Yeah.
have issues. So
Right.
we support the majority of the bulk system in Vermont. And that's connected to the rest of New England and to Quebec, as well as New York. We have a transmission line that runs about 17 miles through Franklin County, through the 4 towns of St. Albans, Highgate, Swanton, and Georgia, that is in need of upgraded structures. The wood poles are rotten. Many of them are deficient. The rest that are not fully deficient are still the vintage of 1958 and need to be replaced. We're proposing to replace the entire line, and to do that and keep the existing line energized. What that means is that we need that existing feed, that 17-mile transmission path, to stay energized while we're working, and that supports the rest of, it supports northern Vermont, in a sense, providing redundant supply to northern Vermont, pretty much all from all the co-op's territory.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of things, it also supports one of the 5 feeds into the Greater Chittenden County Load Center. Transfers approximately 225 megawatts, or about 20% of the state's energy needs from Hydro-Quebec, as well as wind generation from Kingdom Community Wind, Sheffield, and other solar that's up there in that area.
Are you gonna do this new transmission line on the same easement, or are you gonna have to have additional easements to do it?
Same easement.
You have
No
enough?
new right-of-way. What we have is 150 foot. We do have additional right-of-way in some areas along the 17 miles, but we're not using that. We're gonna stay within the existing 150 foot corridor that we have. For construction purposes, we will need to clear that to its full width. Not all of it has been cleared to its full width in the past.
Yeah.
We go on a cycle every 4 years and do vegetation management to control species that are incompatible, as well as control the ones that are compatible, to make sure that they don't grow into the wire zone and become a threat to the wires.
And I can assume that you have had these conversations with the landowners that have the easements for you.
Oh, yes, yes. We're going through landowner by landowner specifically to make sure people understand the project, as well as because we're gonna be impacting them in their backyard, or, their back 40, whichever it is, as well as to gain feedback for any concerns. We have access roads that we need to negotiate with the landowners as well to get to the right-of-way. Sometimes it's really out there and it's not accessible via public roads. So we have easements that need to be modified for those access roads, or to procure what we call danger trees, which are the need sometimes to take trees that are outside of the 150-foot right-of-way easement that pose a danger to falling into the lines because they're so tall, or if not good health. So the proposed project is to keep the existing line in service during the approximate 2-year construction period, and then rebuild in the existing right-of-way to stay within that existing 150 foot. That means we need to take those 3 phases of 3 conductors or wires that carry the electricity, and to fit them in, we need to move those from a horizontal configuration to vertical. And in doing that, that creates the need for taller poles. So these poles will be significantly taller, around 40 feet taller. And we've got an aesthetic expert.
What's the height then?
What's that?
What's the height gonna be altogether?
Approximately 77, I think, is what's in the printed materials. Is kind of an average height above grade. And what we're proposing, instead of the 2-pole, or what we call H-frame structures, we're proposing single poles for the majority of the rebuild. There are certain areas where we'll need 2 poles or 3 poles as the line changes in hard angles, or is needed to have dead ends. Dead ends support the line structure and prevent it from cascading outages, which would be if we have another ice storm again. And the line does fall down, the structures do fall down due to ice loading, then they cascade like dominoes, but they stop, and the whole row of dominoes of 17 miles doesn't come crashing down. So we do have certain areas where we have 2-pole dead ends that have extra guy wires to make sure they don't all fall down. So I think I've covered most of the basics of what it is. that have covered 2 years. In addition to meeting with the landowners, we've gone through last summer and met with other select boards in towns, not here, but others. In the fall, in November, we had public outreach meetings where we held open house style meetings in the evening hours for each of the 4 towns. And we've gotten some feedback from people there. It's good. Not a lot of people attended, so we're going to be setting up another series of open house meetings and perhaps get-togethers in a public library where people can then ask questions, come in during the day if evening meetings aren't appropriate for them, and try to address questions, concerns that people have. We're expecting to pull together regulatory filing for this, for the permit. The permits are primarily through the State of Vermont Public Utility Commission has the main kind of overarching permit, and then the Agency of Natural Resources, Army Corps of Engineers have other permits pertaining to wetlands.
You gotta go through Act 250?
The State of Vermont has, for electric transmission, electric generation projects, has something similar to Act 250. It's called Section 248 of Title 30, and that allows for the petitioners such as ours to show and give evidence that proves that we're addressing each of the criteria. And the criteria are very similar to Act 250.
Does it allow for public input too?
It will go through the Department of Public Service as the ratepayer advocate. They're a statutory party to the proceeding, and they have the ability to provide feedback from the towns, from the general people, from public viewing areas, and try to represent the state of the state of Vermont as a whole. The towns have the ability to participate directly in the proceeding if they wish to. One of the things that happens before we start this formal permitting process is we have these informal meetings, so you can get to know and ask questions, and we're follow up with anything that we don't have answers for at the moment. But the other item of interest is an informal process where before we submit the permit, we submit what's called a 45-day letter. We have planning to send that out within the next month, and that will be a formal letter that says, here are all the things that we're doing. It'll have text, graphics describing the project, and then basically say, please give us comments within 45 days so that we can incorporate those comments into our filing with the state. And then it also details exactly how, if you choose to, give comments after that 45-day period, if you want to be involved in the proceeding before the Public Utility Commission, then you can do that. And it explains the rules of that.
Well, does anybody have any questions? I guess the project is kind of already started up there at Highgate.
We have numerous projects going on, as you may or may not be aware of. As we manage a lot of facilities. The Highgate substation is being revamped to last and making sure it lasts another 20 years for our planning purposes. One major element of that job in particular is a new control building to replace the existing one that's grown too small, and there's actually a couple pieces that were put together, and the roofs leak and so forth. That's not what I'm here about today, but I'm aware of that. And
okay. One interesting thing on here I'd like to have people know, you're saying you're going to reduce energy line losses by 50%?
Yes. This, and that's an important part that I should highlight. This project is not just to refurbish the existing line, but we're also proposing to add a second conductor to it, which means instead of the 3 wires, you'll still see kind of 3 main wires, but within each of those 3, they're going to be bundled. So 2 conductors, 2 conductors, and 2 conductors. And that additional amount of wire put up in the air has a fair amount of benefit for the state and for New England. It reduces the line losses, the energy that gets lost on that line through heat. And it reduces that by about 50%. This line in particular, the 17-mile transmission line, is heavily loaded pretty much around the clock from the 225 megawatts coming from the Highgate converter from Quebec, as well as other wind generation and solar. And that heavy loading of the line creates the need for, or, necessitates or causes the line losses, which we're trying to avoid. The other prime reason for putting up extra conductor is to alleviate a concern that we have a limit currently. It's called a SHII, the Sheffield Highgate Export Interface Limit. And that's been currently, over the past 5-10 years, limiting the amount of new generation projects, renewable generation primarily, that can be sited up in northern Vermont. That's created a backlog before the State Public Utility Commission, where they've had to say no to the larger projects because of that. That generation can't get absorbed by the load that's up there. There's not enough load in northern Vermont, so then that generation needs to be transmitted south to central Vermont. And it's currently bottleneck at times.
Well, we need power around here.
Oh, yes.
Don't be sending it all down to Chittenden County. We plan on having some growth here too.
Yeah, well, that's good.
They don't need it. They don't need any more down there.
No. But the main reason here is the line is aged, deteriorating, and it's needed to support not just Chittenden County, but needed to support this area. One of the graphics in there has a picture, I think it's color coded, and it has a green and a red line in it. And if you look at the
These are black and white.
right, I guess it looks like you got the color version.
The color.
Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
No.
We
Yeah.
converted it to black and white.
Okay.
Combination.
Yep, but basically, there's a small insert of the northern part of Vermont. Yeah, there it is, on that.
Right here?
Yeah,
Yep.
and it shows that northern Vermont is served by primarily two different lines. One is this line that I'm talking about that comes up from Georgia to Highgate.
Yeah.
The second line starts over Littleton, New Hampshire, and feeds northern Vermont. And northern Vermont is pretty much all of Vex load plus Green Mountain Power, and Swanton in terms of municipal load as well. And while we have the ability to take line outages sporadically, as needed, if we were to take this 17-mile stretch of line out for an extended period of time, that would cause an undue reliability risk, meaning the rest of northern Vermont is served by just one transmission line. And if there is a
Problem.
bird or a lightning strike or something else on that line that takes that out of service, then we're dealing with a blackout situation. And then having to restart, calling upon certainly the diesel units here in this area. But that's only gonna support a portion of the load. I think the diesels are rated around 40 megawatts.
I think we said we could power small and a little bit of St.
Oh,
Albans, right?
Right. Right.
Probably 10 and
Yeah.
40.
Right.
Yeah, 40.
But the worst case scenario is that we lose this line from New Hampshire, and it's basically everything from St. Johnsbury to St. Albans is affected. So that's why we're trying to build this, close to the energized line, keeping it energized, therefore going taller. And we've decided for cost savings as well as the ability to help out with the Shiite limitation, that we'd add a second conductor.
Well, sounds like something that's gonna be quite beneficial. If you're gonna save that much energy and the state's pushing for more electric use, less fossil fuels, we're gonna need it.
It makes the grid more resilient, more efficient, as well as clears up a maintenance issue of this old line.
Okay.
The construction period would take about 2 years.
Yeah, looks like it's gonna be a while, yeah.
And
That's a lot to do.
yet we're actually actively engaged, I wouldn't say in construction at this point, but in pre-construction activities. We're currently going out, I don't know if you've heard, but we have a drill rig that we've contracted with SW Cole, and they've been going out to 25 different sites to try to obtain soil boring information to further the engineering design.
How many employees will you have during all this process?
During the active 2 years of construction,
Yeah,
I don't know off the top of my head, but a fair number. We anticipate, and it's outlined in part of the presentation, there are basically 4 or 5 different cycles of the construction,
yeah.
and then each cycle will have its own crew, such as the first crew is going to be vegetation clearing, mowing within the right-of-way so that we can then get trucks in and out of the right-of-way. To protect the wetlands, we'll then have timber mats being put down by another crew to, minimize the impacts to the wetland, rutting and so forth. And then there would also be drilling contractors who come in and drill the holes, build access roads, or, you know, fortify existing farm fields for access for heavier vehicles. And then we actually, after the holes are drilled, we then have people actually come in, probably 2 different line crews come in and set the poles, string the conductor, tighten it all up.
You do this year round?
We do this work year round, yes, through the winter.
It's impressive.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
I've been told don't be afraid of the cold.
Yeah.
And if I could just, I mean,
Yep.
just as an aside, that this line crosses Interstate 89 between here and St. Albans. So
Mhm.
there will be a time when they're gonna have to either slow or stop traffic to
That's,
do the work.
that's
So,
right. We anticipate
this-
at this point, lane closure on a short-term basis to
Yeah.
be able to offload construction mats, the timber mats that we use for the wetlands. And then we would arrange with the state and, you know, permit for what's traditionally a rolling roadblock or a slow pace while we pull over the existing, we can't pull from the existing conductors, but we have to set then new rope
Mhm.
and then use that pulling rope to pull the conductor over and watch that, because that sags
But that would,
when the traffic's approaching. And I'm not sure quite why they don't do a full stop, but we're used to the rolling stop.
but that will be well advertised, so people will know to expect delays.
Oh, yes,
and
yeah.
reason for it. Yep, good.
Well, we thank you for your presentation and, you know, hopefully you're successful.
And thank
You know, if
you.
there's any public concerns that are brought to us, we'll follow them up with you.
Oh, please do. My contact information is at the end of the presentation. I welcome any questions anytime. You know, if something comes up later, let me know.
Yeah.
Be happy to try to answer questions on it.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Now we're skipping Debbie, she's not here. We're going to schedule, scheduling of the public hearing for the town plan.
So, I drafted an explanation of what, find it.
I've got
You
it
got
here.
it, you got it. So in your packet should just be a very brief thing for me. The need to change some of the regular meeting nights. First, to begin with, the first Tuesday in July is the 4th of July.
Yep.
So we can either meet a week earlier on June 27th, or later in the week of July 4th, like maybe the 6th being the Thursday. It's up to the board to decide. We've got plenty of time to make that decision. But secondly, it comes into the plans of public hearing, and this is a public hearing for the adoption
Yes.
of the new town plan. So that would be, at this time, looks like the regular meeting of July 18th would be the public hearing on the adoption of the town plan. It's regular meeting night, should be no problem. But another public hearing of the town plan is required no sooner than 30 days from the date of the first hearing. So since the second meeting in August would be too soon, we can arrange either to change or have that meeting on the 22nd of August, or keep the regular meeting on the 15th of August with a special standalone meeting for the public hearing on the 22nd. And we need to probably, you want to warn both of these at the same time.
Exactly, so we need to
that.
make a decision about when
Yeah.
the select board's gonna meet in August, so that we can warn both of those meetings in July and August at the same time.
Now, have you had a public hearing yet on yours?
No,
No.
June fourth,
You've got to approve it first.
Okay,
we have our public hearing on June 14th for the planning commission.
okay. That's the first public.
That's the first public
On
hearing.
the
and
entire
then-
plan.
Right, and then it's gotta go to the select board twice.
Yeah. Has anybody got any preferences here? Now, you were saying that we have to schedule within a certain time and maybe a standalone meeting for the adoption of the town plan?
No, for the second public hearing.
Second public hearing, but we wouldn't adopt it at that point in time, or could we?
I'll have to ask
I
Cora.
thought Corey said that it's adopted that night.
I do believe
I
it's
think he
adopted
did
that
say it
night,
was
but I just
adopted
wanna
that
check
night.
with him to be
Yeah.
sure. So the 15th regular meeting would be too early. It's gotta be 30 days from July 18th. So the 15th would be too early. Or the 20, or you could have your meeting on the 22nd.
Of July or August?
August. So the 15th of August is when your meeting is scheduled.
Yeah.
It's too early.
Too
It's
early.
before the 30 days.
Yeah,
So you could either have your meeting on the 15th and have just a special meeting for the public hearing on the 22nd, or change your meeting to the 22nd. Whatever you guys
what's,
prefer.
is the 22nd, what night, what day?
It's a
still on a
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
It's still on a
It'll be the
Tuesday.
fourth
Following Tuesday.
Well, I guess it depends how many people are gonna show up and all that, you don't know, I mean, it could take a lot of time. I guess we'd have some, but we can't, we gotta warn this all together in one shot. Or do you wanna take a chance and just do one meeting on the 22nd, or do you wanna do a regular meeting on the 15th is what it's coming down to? And
Right, and have just a
then
public hearing
just a
on the
public
22nd.
hearing on the 22nd. Now that our second meeting of the month includes the orders, so we always generally have quite a bit on, maybe it might be better just to do that,
The standalone
the standalone,
for the August.
yeah,
The second public hearing.
yeah. Otherwise, could be an awful long night.
To do it the 15th and then the 22nd.
So, if that's what you guys wanna do, make a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion to keep the 15th and then use the 22nd as a standalone meeting.
I'll second that.
Alright, that motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carried, so that's the way we'll warn it.
Yep. And then at at the meetings in June, we can decide what you want to do the 4th of July week.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody else wanted to do it.
Can you send us something,
Be here
Ryan?
that week.
We got a whole bunch of changes.
Oh, yeah.
Just send us an email so we can mark our
First
calendars.
of
We
August.
can,
So
yeah.
first one.
Numbers might be gone or whatever.
Be the first
Right
Tuesday.
here?
Okay,
So the first Tuesday is, right?
The
That's
first.
Right, so, you're right.
Alright,
Be
that's
the
National
first,
Night
the-
Out.
Are you talking August?
2nd of August will be the first
Yeah.
meeting.
No, the first.
First, that's right, the
then
first.
15th,
15th.
and the special meeting on the
Something to
22nd.
just bring up.
Yeah, we're gonna say that.
Maybe. So just talking about calendar, Cody did bring up a good point.
What?
Just as we're looking ahead on all of our meetings scheduled, our first meeting in August is scheduled the same night as National Night Out.
Okay, we had that problem
Last
last year
year.
too, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And I think it would be really important for us to be in attendance with the community.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree 100% because there were a lot of people there. So maybe we should move that first to the 2nd. We can do it on a Wednesday
Yeah.
instead of a Tuesday. That, because yes, that National Night Out, yeah, that was.
So our first meeting of the month for the month of August would be the 2nd of August.
Yeah.
We'll change that to then, and then, I don't know, but July 4th, is a Tuesday, so one's our third meeting in June, that'd probably be too early to do another one in June.
20th.
Would be the 20th.
Yeah, 27th would be too early, maybe we're better off to go to the
6th, maybe?
6th,
Thursday, yeah.
yeah. Give you a day to recover from partying.
I'm glad you said it, because I was thinking it.
I have to work that week.
So you wanna move it to the 6th of July?
Good for me.
You
Yeah.
wish, yeah. we can do
Yeah.
that.
Okay, we'll do it that way.
And the 18th.
Yep. All right.
Okay, so we definitely send out a notice.
Please do.
But
We
we'll
got-
So then
Make sure that
August.
Christina.
Which one you on?
Christina will not be here for July 6th.
We're going on to
or
the next
August
one right now.
2nd.
Right.
Those
Okay.
weeks I'm
I'd like to
first
stay.
week of August.
What?
I'd like
First week of
just a
July.
couple minutes and I'll be out of here.
Yeah, but I just wanna let everybody know that, okay, we settled the dates, we're moving on to the discussion for the ARPA funds to hire consultant to update the land use and, development regulations. Okay, Ed,
So, we're here to ask,
Ed wanted to say something, I was gonna give him, I already told him to hold it, and he's been very good, so I'm gonna let him go.
There are a couple of people who deserve a thank you after about a year and a half that we put into this. Some nights were long nights, some nights were short nights. Some nights we'd discuss over may or should. And then we'd come back with a different word a week later and change it again. But I want to thank Amy. There was a lot of times that we would get into this, and we'd have 5 or 6 words floating around, and she'd say, come back next week. And she'd find a word that would fit in there. But she's been a wonderful help to us throughout this whole thing. I also want to thank Corey Parent. We were one of his first ones that he did on this, and he did a whale of a job. And the thing that I like it, and I'm not trying to put down another group at all, but this was not a Franklin Grand Isle Regional Planning bookmark.
Yeah.
It's the same every 8 years.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to also tell everybody who's on this group and where they live, so you have some idea in case somebody wants to call you. Most of you know me, I'm up here in the village. Ross is the vice chair, he lives up here on Route 7.
Andy?
Andy LaRock lives up on First Street. Heather Boskowski is up here on Grand Avenue. And Oliver Manning is up on the
Bushy Road.
Bushy Road up there. So that's where we are all from. We also thank Brian for his work that he did for us, and sometimes it was little talk in the hallway, but we resolved it, and he was good for us as far as budget and that type of thing. So we want to thank all of those people who did a nice job. I want to use my old thing that I did when I was years ago. Dr. Giro told me 60 some odd years ago, you don't go to a presentation unless you're prepared. Well, this is this year's plan. This is 81 pages. This is the plan from 8 years ago, 200 pages. So I think we were very successful in getting a lot of stuff out of there that was repetitious and that nobody paid any attention to. So I think we've been very successful into meeting that goal. And then as soon as this is all over with, you've already seen the bid from Corey again. And we're gonna go through each zone, lakefront, agriculture, and what have you. I've been around there for 25 years, and I don't think we've ever done that. So it's time to do that. There was a gentleman that came in a couple weeks ago to our meeting, and we told him we would let him know it so he could come back. He's concerned that too much of our agricultural land is going into apartment houses. He says, what are we gonna do farming 20 years from now? I don't know. I mean, but it's something, somebody is concerned. So there may be other people who are concerned for other things. Along the lake, I was coming along there Sunday afternoon, and I thought, why couldn't I buy this half acre here that's on the Jersey and build out over the lake? I don't know, it's not that deep at that particular point, but it might be a nice place to live, and that would really help your tax base if you had a few of those built out there, I'm sure. But different parts of the town, up over halfway to St. Albans, up on the hill up there. Beautiful spots for some houses. You can go up there and you can see Montreal at night, you can see Burlington, beautiful. So we've got to look at these places. Are we getting the best use out of them? That gentleman who wants to, looks at those, I don't know, 5 acres, 10 acres, whatever it was now. But he says, where are the farmers gonna be in 20 or 30 years? Because these are all gonna be turned into apartment houses. Might be true. I don't know. What about our downtown? We need to think about that. That's a big thing. I mean, you know, the Swanton will never have the downtown that it had. So we've got to think of doing it. And we've got to look at what the people in Swanton want. First Street is gonna be the business street, eventually. And we've got to give some thought to that. We walked it one night last summer and the summer before. It was an interesting walk as we walked up and down there to see what could we do there. I don't know. But anyway, those are some of the things that we are looking at. What's gonna change.
Okay.
And we have to be careful what the state is doing for us.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of
There's
the,
a-
I like to jump in there because, this is one of the reasons why that's one of the reasons why we need to update our land use regulations, because the state has changed a lot of stuff that, is different than our regulations now. And we need to get caught up on that.
Well, we've changed some.
Some.
We try to keep up with whatever they change, we change.
But there's new stuff this year.
More
Yes, there
coming
is.
down the pipe.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah.
So that's why we wanna secure, if we're gonna use Corey as a consultant, his company, we need to secure him now. Because if we wait until we're ready, maybe fall,
No.
he might not be
We hope to start in
available.
August. Maybe July we can get him started. And I
Don't
wanna
push it,
thank
Ed.
Brian, who's helped us with it.
Yeah.
budgeting
We need a
for this,
break.
so let's-
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Ross, you had a comment too?
Yeah, I wanna bring into the mix, Ed touched on, we've used others in the past, some local, some not, to do these plan rewrites, and.
But this is not a plan rewrite now.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
for our plan rewrites.
Yeah.
And we are currently in a plan rewrite.
Yeah.
But having some local insight and some insight that's been working with other communities in a capacity very similar to ours, doing these rewrites has been huge, because it's not, some hypothetical stuff. This is actual input that other local communities are also doing. So having that input, I feel strongly, and full disclosure, I did have a relationship with Corey, I knew him before this.
Yeah.
But bringing him into our mix has been huge for this plan rewrite alone. And knowing some of the issues we have with zoning, some of the stuff that's even kind of popped up through this plan rewrite, being able to bring him into that zoning bylaw rewrite, I think is gonna be crucial. That it's someone local, that it's someone that has been involved, and also keeps that tab on the legislation that's currently in there, and is typically thinking ahead for us as a community. So that's my input, that's why I'm here. Because like Ed said, we went from 200 pages with a lot of, good information, but a lot of it was fluff or very, very repetitious, like over and over and over.
Yeah.
And made it clear, concise. I would be hoping to do that with our zoning bylaws, because Amy has to answer enough questions. So if we can clarify a lot of things and find ways to make our bylaws much more concise,
Yeah.
there'll probably be less people calling Amy and asking those questions that could be very easily answered within those bylaws by people themselves. So I think it's a twofold answer, not only helping us as a community, but also helping us with, our current, workload here, especially as we start to try to expand.
I would like to get a little input from the board. I wanna make sure everybody understands what's going on here.
Can I say something first?
Okay, go ahead.
So we are asking for ARPA money because right now there's no grants available. So I think Brian said after July,
Well, July 1st. is
July
when the new
1st.
fiscal year starts. I was at a, basically all-day meeting and get-together throughout Franklin County yesterday.
Yeah.
And there will be, grant money available for planning as well as rewriting zoning bylaws. It's coming from the state ARPA money.
Yeah.
But we don't have the details out. They'll probably be out here in the next week or so, but,
So we will be applying
we'll
for
definitely
those.
applying for that.
So we might not need,
Now, wasn't that part of his package too, the consultant? Was he gonna look for money too, or help us do the grants?
and he can do that, yes, yes. So I don't wanna just say, can we have this ARPA money? We are going to apply for grants.
Yeah.
We might not need it all, but in order to secure Corey, we need money.
So you need something for the contract,
Well, if you look at the
Starting in
proposed
July.
fee,
how much does it say? Yeah.
$2,000.
$2,000.
Beginning July through August, estimating 10 to 11 months. It's either
So the
20 or
estimate is about
$22,000.
$22,000.
So he wants to be paid at $2,000 a month, and then whatever we get for grant, we could reimburse ourselves and finish paying it off.
Yes.
All right, what's the board's input here?
I just have a question, first of all, this is a tremendous job, which we've done so far. I mean, taking it from 200 to 80, making it modern, and then listening to all of the different zones, that's just critical for our future, so good job. I think Swanton's 23,000 acres.
Yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
and I'd just be, maybe in your studies or however you proceed, I'd like to know what percentage of those acres are conserved?
Close to 50. It's in the 40s. We talked about
40% of the 23,000 acres is conserved.
You got a big chunk of this one.
between the refuge and between land trust.
Yeah, I knew it was high, I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah.
And that's one of my concerns, is that we ain't got much land left,
No,
okay? And I feel badly for the ag side, but we have to also look at the future. And 40% of the 23,000, that's pretty significant.
All right, that's a comment on the town plan. But what we're discussing right now actually is whether we're gonna go ahead with approving ARPA funds right now to hire a consultant. The same consultant that did the town plan and is being recommended by the planning commission, to redo our zoning bylaws. Now, this is a different thing. Remember we had this big discussion back in January, about why this couldn't get done, and a lot of it had to do with the way our laws are written. The other thing is, we're probably way behind, especially with this new state stuff, coming out, changes for Act 250, changes for village core areas, that's being proposed. Our laws are not gonna coincide with them unless we get them updated.
They're not proposed now, they're passed.
They're passed, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're signed yet,
Yeah.
but they were passed.
Well, I think the governor will sign that.
Right, because
Yeah.
it's addressing the housing
Yeah.
problem.
Do you want a motion, Mr. Chair?
Yes, if they want to get this contract done, we're gonna have to have a motion, it's gonna have to be
Motion, we allocate up to $25,000
of the ARPA funds.
of the ARPA funds to move this forward.
And,
Isn't it 22?
I know, but I don't know if there's any other expenses.
Yeah.
I think he quoted, I think there was some mileage expense and all that stuff in there, as if I recall. Maybe I'm looking through the wrong plan, but let's give Brian some flexibility to not to spend it if he won't.
Should we also include in the motion that once they apply for the grants, that maybe we can get, the ARPA funds can get reimbursed? Should that be in that?
yes,
Yes.
how would we make the motion then? We're gonna approve up to 25,000.
Pending any reimbursement from
Yeah,
other sources. of
Yeah,
funding.
pending any reimbursement from state grants.
Yeah.
Okay, do we got a motion now, do we got a second?
Second.
All right, any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carried.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate everything you guys are
Thank
doing.
you. Very much.
One last comment. This is tonight's messenger. And I looked at this picture.
What the hell I need?
There's a whole bunch of people from the state of Vermont up here,
Yeah,
Swanton community members and state officials, tour Swanton downtown area, etc. Well, sometime, now I know Brian's in the picture, but sometime when these things are happening, if you call us, maybe there's one or two of us that might be free and might enjoy going around and walking behind them and listening to what they're saying. I remember the night Jimmy Hubbard and I went to a meeting over in the library on Grand Avenue over here in the park and that. And we sat there and they said, this is one of the greatest plants, some great planner in Montpelier wrote this up. And we walked out of there and said, this is crazy. No southbound traffic on Grand Avenue from downtown up to Second Street. There would be no parking on the west side of the park or on the east side of the park. If you figure that out and you count it out, that leaves you with 5 parking spaces on the east side of Grand Avenue over there. You've got a restaurant, you've got a church, you've got a post office that are all busy. I wonder how much of their business is gonna be left if that were allowed to go ahead. And Jimmy and I went through the roof on that one. But sometimes you don't know about those things unless somebody goes to it. And you just hear something, and it leads you to follow up with another question and that type of thing. So if anybody ever hears anything like this, give anyone of us a call and we'll try to make it. Thank you. Good night.
All right, Ed, thank you. Thank you, Amy.
I just-
Ross took off.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
a motion to have me sign that contract.
Okay, all right, that's all right, we'll need that
I'll
too.
make a motion for Brian to sign the contract.
I'll second that.
All right, that motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll be,
Good night.
Have a good night.
Have a good evening, thank you.
make sure you make that meeting June 6th too, Ed.
I would say you would have.
7 o'clock, Swanton Village Complex.
I was talking about that when you were still in school.
I know. Okay, now we're gonna go on to set the date for veteran flags.
Yeah, Memorial Day is coming up.
Yep,
So typically,
Good night.
we would set them up on Saturday the 27th, the Saturday prior to Memorial Day, then take them down the following Saturday.
Saturday. So,
Weather permitting, rain date would be Sunday in the event.
all right, now, we generally have volunteers,
Yeah.
right?
Yep,
Okay, so what's the schedule either day? What, is it gonna be 9 AM?
9 AM.
9
They
a.m.
meet here on the south end of the park.
I have to sit right here,
And
yep.
then we'll come over, unload the flags, load them up, borrow somebody's pickup truck, transport them over. Adam Paxman called me today and he's getting 2 large augers for
Yeah.
their electric drills.
So make sure you do a dig
And,
safe.
Yes, dig safe will
Yeah,
be contacted.
we always do dig safe.
Yep.
Would you like to
My
paint
street
sprayer
is colder
again?
than hell.
Yes, the paint sprayer, please.
So how many is gonna be going up? Do we have additional ones?
No, 150.
150.
We still have a waiting list.
Yeah.
There's probably 25 people that would like some additional, but, but for now, it's 150.
150.
And so we'll advertise it, asking for volunteers. Last year, we got a good amount of volunteers by advertising it, so.
Okay, now, on when you take them down the following Saturday, which will be June
Third.
3rd,
Third.
Yeah.
is it gonna be at the 9 o'clock too?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. And coming down goes along faster than putting
Put them
up.
up.
Yeah,
They'll go up to 27th.
Yes.
usually does.
yeah. So we'll get on that.
I don't know if I'll be able to do the one that's coming down.
I'll be there on both of
Do
them.
an
We had some
interview
kids
discussion.
show up last year, they did.
The Boy Scouts.
The
Yeah.
Boy Scouts.
They worked hard.
Yeah, my grandson
Yeah.
was there, I'll make sure he's gonna be there again, it's the only work he did all year.
He worked at camp.
You sound like a
So,
farmer.
he don't work like he has to when he's with me.
Question on the veterans flags while we're still there, I know in the past, and I'm not sure exactly how much it had been talked about, putting flags maybe in other places as there is a waiting list. I recently just drove up Route 7 in Georgia and they have them from the utility poles and it really looks nice. Is that something, if there is a push for more people to have flags, that we might be interested in considering?
The utility poles or possibly putting some over at the Veterans
Flat.
Memorial.
Yeah, right over there, yeah, I think that would,
Put some
that
there,
might be an
Right
option.
there.
Yeah.
Because it definitely is something that the community really enjoys and, you know, I think if we can expand upon it and really show, you know, our appreciation to other veterans, that we should consider other
Yeah.
options as well.
Yep. So we can
yeah.
plan to do that for Veterans Day.
Yeah,
Yep.
then maybe we can, you know, expand to that area next year and the people out on the waiting list could have a place.
That would look nice.
Yeah, good idea.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, now we're going on to something that I feel is fairly important because of what we're doing, and that's a discussion of the new regional plan that they're proposing. It's in the draft stage now, and they're gonna have some public hearings coming up Nicole has been attending some of these board meetings, right?
Correct?
So she's gonna give us an update of what, basically what they're proposing and how it might affect Swanton, and I don't know how close it is to what we're putting together. Cause they're seeking public input too.
So I, as appointed to the Northwest Regional Planning for the Commissioner for Swanton, I've been attending the meetings. And in their April meeting, they gave us all a draft plan to review. I shared a paper one with Earl because he likes paper, but I did share them digitally with you gentlemen, so you could review it. They're looking for public input. I think there's a lot of great things that we should all be educated on happening or looking to happen in our region. Definitely there are some things about our Southern Growth District, which is something they call completely different. I believe they call it the Northern Wing. But just as we continue, or the Northeast Wing, but as we continue to look, at improving or building economic growth opportunities in that area, I think understanding what our neighbors are doing is also really important. So again, I shared the draft plan with all of you, and Northwest Regional Planning is looking to get public input. You can do so right on their website, but they do have a series of meetings coming up. On the 22nd at 5 p.m. is an in-person public meeting at the Franklin County Northwest Regional Planning Commission office. There's also a board meeting on the 31st at 7 p.m., which will be the official public hearing, and the public is invited to come to that. And then there will be a final public meeting on July 17th, where they will release the final draft copy and then further adopt it. But I did bring some contact information if anybody would like to have that. Again, there's just a lot of really, I think, great things in there to understand how our Northwest region is growing and projected to grow in the future. And Swanton, I think, plays a really crucial role in that, as we are kind of in the transportation line. So,
How close to that, they're calling it the Northeast, whatever, how close is that to what we've been talking about?
it is a regional growth area, so they definitely have a lot of interest in that.
Are the boundaries similar to what we've been looking at in our plan?
Without getting a really full, in-depth map, I want to say yes, they are similar. I think what we are looking at as the Southern Growth District expands upon what they're looking at as the Northeast Wing. And that might be something that we want to bring to their attention, as we feel that that area has more potential for growth than just right off of the highway. That whole section of Swanton has growth potential.
So it would be important for us to have some input into this process, because these regional plans do have impact, especially in the Act 250 process. And they might have some impact in bringing in funding, state or federal funding, for infrastructure development. We should plan on attending the meeting, at least some of the board members. I'm willing to go, because I haven't been to one for a long time. And I was gonna look more closely at what we're talking about, and to see if there's a lot of difference between what we're talking about and what they're talking
This is the
about.
official public hearing, and this one's virtual.
Which one are you going to?
What?
Which one did you
I
want
was
to
gonna go to which one's a public one, in person?
The in-person public meeting in Franklin County is the May 22nd,
Yeah, I probably would go to that one,
and then May 31st is at St. Albans City Hall.
yeah. And that's the board meeting.
Correct.
I don't know which one would you think would be a more effective place if you wanted to bring up something.
I think it would be the in-person public meeting, as it would be more geared towards public comment, where the board meeting, we will take, I'm sure, public input, but you'll also have more of an understanding of what each of the subcommittees are doing in reviews from the other commissioners.
Maybe you could add those to your list of meeting dates, Brian, so we could pick and choose.
Yeah.
So that was, the
I can give you
22nd.
this
Oh,
paper
okay.
after if you'd like.
I'll go to the 22nd one.
Yeah,
Put
I
it in my
think
calendar
that's
now, so I don't schedule anything.
probably what I would try to do. I'm gonna keep working on looking at it, and I wanna try to get some kind of comparison. I may have to come in the office someday, Brian, and we'll go over it, and, you know, see what some of the difference. And there may be some other things that might affect Swanton too in their plan, I don't know. That part, I've only been looking at the, growth district that we're proposing.
Yeah, Brian, could you, I don't think I got a copy of that, so could you print off?
I was gonna say, I just sent them to you today digitally.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why.
Electronically.
Check my email.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like to have a hard copy, eh?
Well, I make notes, and if I tried to print it off, I'd be here for a week,
Yep.
with my printer, so that would be very useful, then we can make notes on it.
I can print it for you in the morning if that works.
Oh, then what, don't go
'Cause it's
to
like
special-
200
whatever's good
pages,
for
right?
you, whatever's
Yeah, it's
good for you is fine.
140
Yeah.
pages.
How many do we need? Does anybody else want one?
I'm set.
So 2?
Odie, you want one, or you wanna read your
Okay, I'll
computer?
print 3 of them tomorrow.
Might as well do it. I like to make notes.
I really enjoy making notes on mine. I think there's some things.
I read through it because it's right on the link and there's a lot of info in it.
Oh,
There's a lot of
I
info.
like to see it.
I like to have that stuff.
Okay, I'll print them for you guys tomorrow.
Okay,
Can we pause for a minute?
No.
I'm sorry, I need to change the batteries.
Oh, wow, I don't know. Make sure you don't record over anything. Get it back on.
You all set? Good?
You're good, thank you.
Okay, we got the highway department, but I think when, we do the orders, Brian,
Just include.
yeah, we don't need to,
Okay.
yeah, because he's already been there. So now we can move on to, oh, wait a minute, there's something on here.
Lake Champlain thing.
Yes. Update on McQuam Shore.
Well, I really started investigating it this morning, because yesterday it was committed all day and I wasn't here on Friday. And I was doing research back to around 2019, 2020, and through the course of things, I noticed that the Friends of Northern Lake Champlain were involved, so I fired off an email to Kent Anderson, asking if they had done a study, because a news article had indicated that they were doing a study, and that was dated, that was in 2021.
Yeah.
But it would take 2 to 3 years before they get results. Well, that would bring us anywhere from now till next year. So I just wanted to know what the status was, and then he called me back saying that he called and left you a message.
Yeah.
Now, did he explain to you what some of the issues there were?
Yes, yes.
So there's a gal that he mentioned who works for DEC. Her name was Kim Jansen.
Yep.
So tomorrow, I'm gonna try to reach out and get her, to get her view. The feeling was, she was down there at one point, and she walked out, or got out into the lake a little bit, and she started to look at some of the vegetation growth. And if I understood him correctly, what she saw had indicated that it was some of the stuff was historic, the vegetation species, or endangered.
Yeah.
So you, at that point, you probably just are hands off.
Yeah, yeah, basically what he wasn't 100% sure.
Right, well, neither is she, but she
No.
just, but if you start looking, so that's why I want to talk to her tomorrow, or
Yeah.
when I can get hold of
Yeah, I agree, and, you know, if she, you know, I think we need to get her back up here and just to go over this, to give people an opportunity, you know, she can present this and tell, so, at that point in time, you know, there's a possibility, I guess we could apply for another grant,
Right.
if that's what she would recommend. But people do need to understand, it's like you said, Brian, if there's some endangered species, plant species out there, you ain't gonna be running a weed harvester out
No,
there.
no, no. So,
It's done.
Now, I did look, I did see where there was, Mr. George and perhaps others did meet with the board.
Yes.
In 2021. And the board did agree to
We
do a
did.
grant,
Yeah.
okay? But I see no evidence of where that was done. The grant application was never made.
It was never made, okay.
And I can.
There was one made, wasn't there?
There was one made that they got turned down.
Right.
And there's various reasons why they were turned down. And as I recall, and I couldn't find it in writing, it's not to say it's probably here someplace, was that they felt it was too small of it was too specific to that property.
Yeah.
And not for the whole
For the whole
thing. So we're continuing to work on this, and you know, so it's. But I'll be interested to see what Kim has to say. Now, I did draft a letter, but I'm not sure if we're going to send it. But it is drafted to Julie Moore, who's the secretary of the Vermont Agency of Natural Resources, just asking that, or advising that this is a continuing problem, and that you had met, the board had met with members of the staff several years ago, and it was mentioned the cause of poor water quality to be invasive species of vegetation growth. And that you were informed that a study would be conducted to determine what the species is, and once identified, the best avenue to pursue to remediate the situation. So we just would like to formally request the status of any studies undertaking and when something may be done. I don't know if you want that.
Well, I think at this point in time,
Hang on to it.
finally getting some response, I think we should hold on to that
Okay.
and see what this person has to say and what kind of opportunities they may be out there. But people need to understand what's going to happen if something endangered shows up out there.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing too is, and I'll try to verify this a little bit more, is that water in McQuam Bay is way too shallow to even think about running any kind of weed harvester.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but I want somebody that knows to present that.
Yeah. So it was, you know, I thought it was a beneficial, good conversation with Kent, and then I'm interested to see what Kim's going to say. So we'll keep you advised what's going on.
Yeah.
We'll connect with her.
We're doing what we can do.
Yeah. So.
Okay, is there any other necessary business?
The walk to shop.
The walking shop.
Okay, well,
So, I have been asked to sit in on several Swanton Energy Committee meetings, and they wanted me to relay some information to the select board about a new initiative that they're trying to bring to Swanton. It's called a walk to shop trolley. And this is working with Net Zero Vermont on trying to curb greenhouse gases, but also to help make it easier for residents and pedestrians to walk to shop. They have these really lovely trolley carts that they're looking to purchase a large bulk of and possibly subsidize so that we would be able to provide them to the community at a affordable cost. And they were looking to see if the select board would be interested in continuing the conversation to appropriate some funds to this walk to shop program.
Are these little carts that somebody can rent to go to the grocery store with?
Somebody can buy them. I will share a picture down the line. They have a couple in my office if you're looking to demo them. I've had them out at the rec department for our Little League families to see if it was something that they would find useful. And it's something that a lot of people do show interest in.
Do you ride on it?
No, you
No,
pull
you push
it
it.
pull it
Oh,
along
oh,
like
okay.
like a luggage.
Almost like a little golf.
I'm just gonna say, you know,
Yeah.
all that's missing is a golf club.
Yeah.
I mean, it could work very well for golf clubs, if this is something that you guys, just so you can see as well.
Oh, yeah.
If it's something that the board is interested in having a further conversation with the Energy Committee, I will ask one of their representatives to come and present, but I just wanted to share the information with you.
Well, they can't be that expensive, can they?
They're really well made, and I think they retail for about $85 a piece, so they're looking to subsidize it, so the cost would be much less for the community, as they feel that is out of the range of affordability for average residents.
So that would be, people in Swanton would buy these
Correct.
and they'd walk to the grocery store.
Or to the laundromat,
Oh,
or
yeah,
if they're, you know, at home and wanna carry things from their mailbox up to their very long driveway, or if they're coming to the rec fields or going to Marble Mill Park, they'd be able to put all of their picnic things in,
Yeah.
or equipment, or just another way to make some of our assets more accessible. It says right now, the medium size runs at about 40 and the larger one about $50.
I'd be interested in hearing more about it, and I
Yeah,
think it's
I'd like to
something,
know more.
yeah. And I think it's something that maybe when we do, the meeting with the trustees, that we have a presentation on that, both boards together.
I can certainly relay the message. I do believe the trustees have shown their support,
Okay.
as Reg is the one
Okay,
that's,
maybe he's already talked to
Yeah, he's on the
them.
committee.
yeah. So if that's something that you'd like to have more information, I can have Reg.
Well, is the committee looking for something specific right tonight, or they just wanna know if we're even open to the idea?
If you're open to the idea of possibly appropriating funds, I don't have the exact dollar amount that they're looking for as an appropriation. But I can certainly
Are
come
we
back to the
open?
board.
Sure, you
Yeah.
can use one.
Oh my.
It'd be great for delivering Meals on Wheels, actually.
Okay, I guess you can say we're interested in hearing more.
Perfect. I will let them know.
All right, any more public comment? The public has left. Upcoming events, Thursday the 25th is at 6:30 PM is the DRB meeting here at the town offices. Monday the 29th, which is Memorial Day, the town office obviously will be closed. Tuesday, 6 at 6 PM will be our next select board meeting. And at that meeting, again, we're gonna have a public input on the proposal for the MVU sidewalks at the village complex at 7 PM. And anybody that wants to come early, the entire select board meeting will be at the village complex. So just go there, don't come to the town offices.
Mr. Chair, I got two other events that didn't make the agenda. First of all, this Saturday, May 20th, from 9 AM to 4 PM, is the townwide garage sale.
The what?
20th.
Townwide garage sale.
Oh, okay.
And then next Saturday, May 27th, from 8 AM until 2 PM, is the household hazardous waste drop day, disposal day, excuse me. And that's gonna be, again, 8 AM to 2 PM at the town garage. It's for household hazardous waste only.
Is there a link somewhere so people know what they can bring?
They can go on to the Northwest Solid Waste Management District's website and then click on hazardous waste, and then they'll have household hazardous waste, and there's a list there of what can and cannot bring.
Okay.
Another one to add to the list would be the Memorial Day Parade here in Swanton
Yeah.
on the
that's right.
29th,
And what time is that?
2 PM.
2 PM on the 29th. And hopefully, when we get our website up and going, we could tell people what's hazardous and what's not hazardous and what they could
Right.
bring
Yeah,
on our own site.
yeah.
Can you add those dates to your list?
Yeah.
It'll be 5 pages
Wanted to get a
long.
flyer, we have the flyers here.
You do have the flyers here?
They tell us what you can and can't take.
Okay. All right, do we have anything else, Brian?
No, but we need to go into executive
You
session.
need something for executive
Yeah,
session,
I got
okay?
a
So,
couple of things there.
you wanna make a motion?
I move that we find that we enter executive session for the select board to receive confidential personnel information for which the premature disclosure of it to the general public would clearly place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage.
I'll second that.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye. I move that based on our just made findings, the premature disclosure would place the select board and others at a substantial disadvantage. We now enter executive session.
Second that.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.